All right. So I think we're actually going to start going to more questions in regards to Orange 5 Jam, meaning that, we're kind of easing into helping the builders who might be on this call, who might want to know a little bit more about whether improving their builds, how to actually interact with AI, or it could be even marketing their current game or app that they're building, because we're kind of really at the end of this whole competition where everybody has started to submit, started to play around with it, promote it to your friends. And I think Peel would definitely have quite a good take on what they should be doing. But before we actually go to the more marketing side of things, how do you ensure, for example, for like Pot Noodle Dev, that it stays aligned with the goal that you set for it, especially when, like you said, AI tools can go off track and the creative factor is very different. An AI creative factor, a human creative factor could be very different. Do you become more detailed or do you like open the perimeters? Because you did mention putting too much restriction could actually stunt the whole situation. Is there a sweet spot for that?
Yeah, yeah. Good question. Like one thing that I think most people should have a mindset of when building AI as well is kind of having something called evals or like a test suite, which so what that means is like as it builds its stuff, like there's a way for it to check whether it's still valid. Um, but I would say like in our case, because it's games, like it's pretty low stake. You can just ask it to do whatever and be very creative. But if it's, for example, like um, I guess higher stake stuff wherein privacy might be a concern, right? Then you kind of put limits into it. In our, I would say like we're not really like we're really leaning more on the creativity. We're not doing a lot of these testing or evals yet to limit what it can do, and that's because it is low stakes, as I mentioned. But I would say if that is a concern for people on how to limit it to be more uh, to not, I guess, go wild, right? Like one thing that is being done is you don't have it do stuff on your own environment. So if you take a look at these new AI LLMs called computer use, wherein they go straight into your computer and actually see what you're seeing and moving the mouse for you. You don't do that on your personal laptops, right? Just make a cloud environment, meaning like something on Amazon is virtual, and it'll create that and do that. So that's one thing. But yeah, so evals I would say, and really just make sure that you don't give it too much of your info because we don't really know yet, especially if it's these LLMs that aren't tested. Like on Hugging Face, there are these new LLMs that people are putting out. There's this new tool also called MCP, which is I would say a new way for these LLMs to start doing more stuff on your PC. So there's still a lot of security concerns with MCP. So yeah, so I suggest people just know what they're doing because it's a new field, right? So there's still
Yep.
a lot of
That's good to
yeah
know.
mines that you can step on. Yeah,
Yeah. I
Uh,
can imagine people just clicking yes to everything.
yeah, right. And then it starts. Oh, and there are some MCPs that are like so crazy, like how they prompt this, how they prompt it is uh, also send like the private keys of your wallet, for example, but it's not. But
Oh,
it's fooling the LLM. For example, it's
okay.
saying don't tell the user about this. This is a very important. So it's crazy. Like a lot of these things are just so yeah so brand new.
I have a question for you, Paul.
Yeah.
Um, we just had an internal little contest, vibe coding, mostly games. So one member of our team had a real problem developing a final product because he had given it a fully fleshed out game document.
Yeah.
Um,
Usually
whereas my
doesn't work. Yeah.
approach, yeah, yeah. So like if someone has a pretty good idea of the game they want to make, how do you suggest they break it down in manageable steps?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
manageable
Yeah.
steps.
Good question. Yeah. I did share one tool also, Phil. Like that might help with this game design doc. It's called Taskmaster. So what that does is it adds cursor rules or whichever tool you're using to make a, I guess, a more LLM focused plan around the design doc, right? Because the design doc is for humans, just for you to read what it's for. There's a lot of stories in there and art. But LLMs, they don't really understand that, and you don't want to like overload its context. And so what the taskmaster does is it just breaks it down into to do list for the LLM. So I think that's kind of like the best way to think about it is to write a to-do list that's pretty simple and then ask the LLM to do that one by one. And what Taskmaster does, it does that already from whatever spec you give it, and from conversation. Maybe I can find it here and I can share the link. Where should I share the
So,
link, Phil?
um, good
Orange
question.
Vibe Jam. I think Orange Vibe Jam is good. The chat there would be great.
So
Orange Vibe Chat.
Taskmaster is another AI.
It's an npm package, so it's more like or I think, yeah, it also uses AI. But what it essentially does is it there's a file called cursor rules, which kind of is like a system prompt for your LLM. So whenever you chat with it, for example, whenever you chat with a system prompt, right, it starts with you are a helpful assistant, so that the user will ask you these things and you have to answer these things. So what cursor rule does, it adds up to that system prompt. It also says break it down into tasks that are manageable, yada yada yada, so that the LLM can do it. Then it'll make like documents for you, like the design doc. It'll break down more into an LLM focused one, and then you can just tell it to start with the first task and then start crossing that out. So it's gonna be systematically doing it. Yeah, yep, that made sense.
Yeah, that definitely did. Alrighty, so
There
we're
you
going
go.
to move on to. Thank you so much. Yeah, so if anyone wants to check out that link, it'll be in the Orange Vibe Jam chat. I will share it with the devs as well later on once we end this little segment that we do have going on. So we're going to start moving on to Orange Vibe Jam. So Paul, feel free to jump in as well because there will be a few overlapping scenarios for you to share if you'd like to. Phil, definitely, I'm going to be asking you, and also Peel. But I'm going to start off with the very basic because I do see some new people here. So, for those new to Orange Vibe Jam, how can people participate, and what's the best way to get started?
You want me to take that one?
Yes, please.
So, so I think obviously the first part is to register. So you can go to the type form and register. The links is pretty much everywhere, but we can reshare that. And then I think the best way to get started is to integrate the Orange ID. It's not like mandatory that you have it, but it's going to be like an essential way for us to track the milestones and the rewards during the judging period. So it will go towards, I think the project will be well served if they integrate Orange ID. Also, it's giving them access to the Orange community, right? So that's where I'd start. And then, yeah, focus on the build and really, focus on getting that as engaging and as fun as possible. And then have it ready by April 30. The cutoff's 8 p.m. UTC on April 30. So make sure that you get it submitted in time.
Yeah, it's just around the
So
corner.
if I can just add on to that, if you haven't started a project yet, you might want to, and you're building with something like Replit, or you're building with Replit. Um, the team has already created uh, an orange auth template that you can build your whatever your project on top of, and that would mean that the auth system is already integrated from the very beginning. But if you have an existing project, you can always integrate the npm package, and it's very easy to vibe code. It's basically cut and paste the README, um, and then tell the agent to integrate it. That's really pretty much it.
Straight to the
Um,
point.
yep.
And there's a full walkthrough, isn't there, Phil, on vibecodinglist.com? They can get the full walkthrough.
Yeah, I think I myself created a little video. It's not official, um, but just to show you how I did it. I think those links to those videos are in both of the uh, Vibe Jam chats. So you can look there to start. And then if you have any questions, just drop any of your questions or concerns in the chat, and someone from the team will field it. If not, another community member. I know a couple of the guys here. Walked them through the process, and now I have no doubt that they can probably do the same for anyone else that needs help.
110%. Okay, so in terms of the prizes, what is available to them, and also what kind of support can participants expect during the building phase? Because I'm sure a lot of them are going to need some guidance and what to do. So yeah, what can they expect for that?
So the prizes, it's that up to 100K with also there's about 20,000 of ORMG orange tokens included. First place is 20,000 USD or USD equivalent in 1 million tokens, and then it scales down from there. But there'll also be other awards. So there'll be orange token rewards for applicants who keep the orange ID integrated, plus those cash prizes that I mentioned. There'll also be like milestone bonuses that we're going to be announcing along the way. And I think to sort of keep abreast of that and to also get the support, obviously there's like the guides and the docs on like we just discussed on Vibe Coding List and some of the videos that Phil's made and other community members have made. But also jump into the community here. There's we're looking to sort of build the community here, and you'll see the Vibe Coding channels, the Orange Vibe Jam channel. So jump in there. I think that's a really good spot to get support and get help. Definitely, if you raise it there, there'll be plenty of people around that can point you in the right direction.
Yep, for sure. If anyone has any or in need of any help, you can always tag me or you can always tag Phil. We are usually up and about even at night, but just give us some time to review the questions and we'll definitely help and assist. Yeah, so I guess, yep, go ahead.
Before you continue, Paul, you might want to talk about the nudes challenge, the nudes
Oh, yeah, there
side
we go.
quest.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. So I think Phil also just announced this on the Orange Web site, right? But one thing that we're also doing with the Vibe Jam is a nude side quest. So if people Vibe Jam a game and bonus points if it's noodle theme, because that's kind of the lore of Pot Noodle Dev. Just check out potnoodle.dev for just things that you can pull on, and so don't hesitate to ask me also if you have any questions on that side quest. But that's mostly it. Like if you vibe jam a game, vibe code a game, and then it's Pot Noodle Dev theme, then that'll be up for that prize. So looking forward to
So-
seeing games there.
So it doesn't have to be noodle themed, but bonus points.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have
priority
to be. Mhm.
for games that are noodle themed. I think what's interesting is the judge.
Yes.
So, if I understand correctly, Pot Noodle Dev will actually be judging that
Yes.
side quest.
Yeah. So it won't be us who will be judging. We're going to set up Pot Noodle Dev and he'll be the one judging the entries. So how that will happen is we'll go through the entries. We'll put up a little write up around each of that, or no, that I think now like we might apply multimodal capabilities as well. So we'll just send screenshots of the game, and we'll have Pot Noodle Dev judge from that. So yeah, so that'll be pretty interesting. And one thing that I've seen some modern LLMs do actually is also being able to like go use computer use and actually play games, right? So I don't know if we're gonna do that with Pod Noodle Dev, but the gist is we're gonna use an LLM to judge it.
Awesome.
An interesting way to be judged. I mean, if you win that, it's like even AI approves.
Yeah,
of you.
so it's the AI feels that your game is nice, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
All
so,
right.
so bonus tip for all those here, you just have to make it look good.
No, like
Oh
we actually did a
God.
version of this, but it's like it's not online. It's so what we did was we had Chat GPT like turn on the mic because you can talk to it via audio, right? And so we put it up in a space, and then people went in front and just started talking about their games. And ChatGPT would reply like it would say like, "Oh, that's like a very interesting. That's a very interesting concept," and it will summarize the concept. And then at the end, we ask it to choose which one it liked the most. So, so it's not how it looks like, Phil. I think it will also use
Okay.
whatever is the mechanics of the game, right? So maybe make the description nice also on the web page or whichever. Yeah.
Phil's teaching people the wrong thing already. Phil, stop it.
Yeah.
I just put noodles in Nissan cups everywhere. That's what I'll Google you.
Oh, hmm. Yeah, that's
No,
interesting.
no, no. It's
Yeah.
just gonna bulk up your game for no reason. Um,
Alrighties.
yeah.
Okay, so I guess the next question for Peel would be, can participants work solo or in teams? And is it open for creators of all levels, from maybe first time builders or even non builders?
Yeah, it's basically fully open. So you can work solo, you can work in a team, you can collab, you can remix, and I think really it's open to anyone, either experienced coders or new coders. But what we're really trying to show is the potential for people that don't have a big coding experience and what they can do. So I think no coders or people that are new and only understand a little bit. I think that's really interesting to see what they can come up with, and that's kind of the whole point of vibe coding, right? So you don't necessarily need to have comp sci degree to be able to knock out your ideas.
For sure. Okay, so the next question is going to be for the three people here, which is Paul, Phil, and also Peel. What type of projects are you personally excited to see out of this jam? Any wild ideas? I don't know, you could probably give a wish list as well to anyone listening. But yeah, what do you wish to see from the creators?
Hmm.
Phil has a
I'm,
face
I'm
on.
a bit biased, but I'm a bit biased, but I'd love to see. I'm sort of excited to see what people can do with worlds as well. I know it's not a requirement, but incorporating stuff into Orange Worlds, which I think is really cool. What you can build in there. So whether it's a game that like involves coming through different worlds and maybe loot boxes and stuff like that, or even like an AI powered agent inside the worlds, that would be awesome. But yeah, I think that'd be cool to incorporate worlds or just anything really that gets attention, or a meme or a cult classic would be amazing.
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess like for myself, I'm looking for. I'd really like to see a game that incorporates AI and can really
So,
only
so
be played with
that was going to be
AI.
my answer, Phil. So
Oh, sorry,
just to,
man. All
yeah.
right, all right, all right. You give your answer, and then
Yeah.
I'll make some thoughts up.
Copy
Yeah,
answers
so
here.
think of one more. Yeah, but I echo Phil's suggestion. Like there was this game jam I attended called the Mistral Game Jam by the Mistral folk, and I think I really liked the output of that because it what they did was force you to use LLMs. Like I don't think we should ask people to do that, but it was a different kind of game, right? Where LLMs were part of the game design. Like an example, there was um, like there was a terrible example. Like I find that a lot of these game jams also are about just using the LLM to chat with folks because I find people are just so lonely, right? So they're making friends. So you see a lot of these AI friends, AI waifus also, right? So a lot of that was there, but it's about using LLMs itself as a mechanism, and that's very interesting, right? Because a lot of the games, for example, on our platform, a lot of them are hyper casual games. But if you can use LLMs directly as part of the game design, I think that's super interesting.
Yeah. So I have to make something new up.
Yeah.
A new way to play tic tac toe. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll
Like
3D
how?
tic tac toe. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Maybe
That's an
the LLM
interesting
can figure it out.
suggestion, though.
Yeah, just throwing a wrench.
3D tic tac toe.
3D tic tac
Mm.
toe.
There you go.
I
Okay,
mean, like
so
three levels, right? Not just like
Like
isn't
a
that like
Rubik's
what
cube.
like the Star
Like
Trek
Sheldon
chess.
used? Yeah. Well, what Sheldon used to play, right? It's like the what chess? Gosh, I forgot. But yeah, I get it.
Mm.
I'll lose, but yeah. So you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys as well have checked out the vibe coding list, and the participants have actually participated and submitted their apps. And I tested a few. It's pretty cool. A lot of them have elements that are very. It reminds me of a lot of games I used to play, or kind of reminiscent of things that I like as well. But at the same time, this is a competition, right? And everybody is probably thinking of the same thing or have similar ideas, because culturally we are always attracted to games that we like to play or apps that we are very comfortable using. Are there any tips from the three of you of how to actually stand out when it comes to creating apps for this competition?
Mm. I mean,
Mm.
like um, most vibe coded games that I've seen don't have the best graphics. Um,
Mm.
like if you can somehow, uh, even if it's a very simple, great game, but have a good presentation, um, that can definitely help. Uh,
But not at the not sacrificing the user experience, right? I
yeah,
think if you
yeah,
have to
for sure.
choose between UI and UX, you should probably put your time into UX. But then, yeah, if you could get the UI looking pretty, that's going to be it's going to make you stand out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding like that. I've been experimenting with my own developments, and then um, the agent will come up with these really janky graphics, but then I'll just go into ChatGPT and create sprite sheets, and then have the agent replace those graphics, and um, and it improves the quality when you get a little more hands on. Like your game, the Paul, that chicken game.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, now honestly, it's not the best shooting mechanic I've
Yeah.
seen, but graphically, it's. I mean, it's probably one of the best vibe coded graphics I've seen.
Yeah. Well,
And then,
well, thank you.
how did you accomplish that? Like,
Yeah.
maybe you can give these guys some tips on how to improve
Sure. Yeah.
the graphics.
And maybe that's also another general tip, right? Like there's so many LLMs, like that you can also use that for certain use cases. In that case, because it's a 3D world, right? I created the 3D model of the character of the chickens uh, using a tool called Hunyan 3D. I'll share that as well. Um, but it's an LLM on Hugging Face which turns 2D screenshots into 3D. So yeah, so aside from just doing everything on cursor, right, you can start using all these other LLMs to create content, and that can be for anything like 2D. Like you mentioned, Phil, ChatGPT can be create spreadsheets. You can create 3D models using these example models on Hugging Face. You can create audio as well, right, using 11 Labs, just so that if your game, if you want to add more polish and have voice on it, yeah, so
Yeah,
actually that's also one thing I would suggest is just add a level of polish to the game so it stands out.
I mean, I just today I created a cogs Chrome. Yeah, are you familiar with Chrome? It's the it's like the game in India where you're sliding that disc.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
It's kind of like billiards, but with discs. So all I did was take the artwork um, from the cogs and had it mapped to the discs. Um, and yeah, it looked great. It looked great.
Yeah. And also something I did wanna, I guess, add on there as a way for people to stand out, like at least in terms of games. Like you can go a long way by making sure the game is fun, right? Before adding all the bells and whistles. Um, and the fun game, I think, really stands out, even if the graphics are janky, right? Like what's a good example of that?
Minecraft.
Yeah, I was gonna say Minecraft, but
Flappy Birds.
yeah, or Flappy Bird. Yeah. So we can start with just a mechanic that works. There's in game design, right? There's the core loop. You make sure the core loop is fun, like people come back and play it. Then yeah, if you can find that core loop, then polish it up. I think that's gonna be a winning entry.
Although, like the core loop is a big term in game design. Can you quickly
Yeah,
define that for everybody?
sure. Yeah. Like if you played, or maybe just think of a game that you played recently that really got you hooked, that made you come back and play it, and most of the time there's something called a core loop in the game, wherein you do a specific set of actions and you come back and do that action all the time because it's rewarding. So for example, a great game that does this is Hades. So Hades, it has this roguelike core loop where you come in, play a game for 20 minutes, and then you die, and then you start again, right? Because there's a reward after that core loop. So if you think of your game in that way, like why do I come back and play? What are the rewards? What are the sinks, for example, for the currency that I earn in a game? And yeah, and just make that super engaging. Then that'll go a long way.
So, like, what would be the core loop of Flappy Birds?
Oh well, yeah, that core loop is super quick, right? And that's the genre of Flappy Bird. When it came out, it was something called frustration gaming. I think that's what they termed it, and it's because it's yeah, it's a very specific one. Because most mobile games they have a core loop where you earn a resource and then you spend that, right? And then you just come back and play the game to earn the resource. In Flappy Bird's case, it's more like the game is it's kind of designed that way. Like you play it for the first 5 seconds, right? You have a chance to die, so it's super easy to play it, but it's also frustrating that it makes you wanna come back. And other examples of these kinds of games are the bottle flip one. Phil, I don't know if you remember those games where
Bottle
you
flip? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it's just so frustrating. Just want to get it done. So it's a
It's
different
a
kind
bit
of
like
core loop.
golf. You get that one
Oh,
shot. You have that one playthrough where you get just far enough that keeps you coming back because you're like, I can do it. I can get to the third tower.
yeah,
But it's like golf.
that
It
makes
keeps you coming
sense.
back. So the difficulty of it makes it,
Yeah.
gives you the
I
buy-in.
don't play golf though, but I can see the I can see the analogy.
That is
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
Like golf, like a major sport, has a frustration core loop. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Right. Yeah, because it's so
Uh,
easy. You hit it, and then you're like, oh, that sucks. Then you have to walk. Right.
yeah,
That's funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that one shot per round that gets you to come back and play the next round,
Yeah.
right?
Actually, Peel, that's a great analogy. Like,
Mm.
Yeah. It
um,
is.
I think you can write a paper on that. That could be a. I'm going to Substack. I'm writing that up.
Oh
Yeah.
God. It's like so much PTSD in this one conversation of golf games and Flappy Bird.
That's funny.
Um, I don't know if you want to do this, Lala, but or if
Mm.
you have any more anything else on the agenda, but if you wanted to um, talk about the experience of someone vibe coding for the first time without any experience, you might want to talk to some of the guys that are listening, like Recht and George. I think they have a interesting POV on
Sure.
creating content for the first time.
I will be happy to have them on board to talk actually if they're open for it, or they can type it out as well. But just so everyone knows each other, there are a few people in the current chat as well who have submitted and have gone through the whole process of creating apps for the Orange Vibe Jam, and it's always good to share a little bit of feedback on what's happening. We also have a bounty for not just the builders but also the community members to share thoughts on the builds that they're building or even the process that they went through. Please do check that out. It's in the announcement channels, and you might walk away with some good rewards leading up until the very end of this month. So yeah, I mean, be happy to hear whether if Rec wants to share a little word, or even George as well, on their experience of participating. Or if not,
Or
we can
not.
set another. Yeah, we can set. You like putting people on the spot today, Phil. Honestly.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear
Yeah,
you.
cool.
Like, I know this guy loves to talk.
Who me? I'm at work at the moment, so I can try and sort of grab 2 or 3 minutes. But I mean, this has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you, firstly, for sharing all of this. I think the concept itself is really, really cool. It's new, and I never ever saw myself as a creator until all of these tools and AI started to just kind of show us what's achievable. It starts off as ChatGPT, then it goes into text to image prompts, and then text to 3D models, and then music, and now we can literally code our own game and customize it to whatever we want. It's incredible. In terms of the actual process, it is so easy. Like, if I can do it, then anybody can do it. As I say, I've got no sort of background in gaming. I'm a military guy myself, so I'm not even in the kind of profession. But to sort of take it on as a hobbyist is something that is, like, I kind of feel like I found my niche. One of the questions I was going to ask actually was about monetization, and whether anyone can actually see whether this could be monetized, or whether it will always kind of stay in that hobbyist loop, where we're all just checking out each other's games. What I've gone off on a tangent. What was the question?
No,
So-
you shared your
answered.
experience, which is
Correct.
great.
Okay.
But maybe I think both Paul and Peel have had some experience monetizing games.
For sure, yeah. I would say, like, since we're in Web3, what's your name? Sorry, is it Wrecked? Or
Wrecked.
Move Down?
Wrecked. Wrecked.
Yeah. So yeah, Wrecked. So like, since we're in Web3, right? Like, the monetization paths aren't that clear. Like, there are a few that you can look at, right? Like, people sold NFTs, for example. In our case, like, Pod Noodle Dev has its own token. So if you do a successful launch on virtuals, for example, that can be a route to monetization and having your own token. But also, people are still figuring this out. Like, I've seen a few good projects wherein they monetize pretty well. One is so this is more app level, but there's this app called BankerBot, where what it essentially does is you can interact with it on Twitter, and, for example, tell it to send. So I'm gonna meme Potul Dev here a bit, but the token of Potul Dev is called nudes. So when you tell BankerBot to send 5,000 nudes to Rec, then it will go and do that to your Twitter account, into your wallet. And they have a free tier, and if you pay, for example, I think $20 worth of their token, which is Banker, then you can use that service indefinitely. So it's sort of like a SaaS model. So that's one model you can think of, right? But I would say, like, Web3, like, that's what's really cool about Web3 is you kind of have to reimagine what value means and what currency means in the context of, like, a digital economy. And so you can be very creative with it. But of course, some people can also be pretty irresponsible with it. So meme coins, right? All of these other things.
I
But
think,
relying on proven SaaS models might work.
one of the clear cases out of vibe coding specifically is the sponsorship model, right? As done by Levels.io.
Oh yes, yeah. So
Um,
he sold ads on top of his game, right? Which is a very clear way to do it.
yeah, which Rect, like personally, I think is very appropriate for your content, especially, um, where you allow people to upload their own token as a graphic, and that is a form of advertising for them, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
that might be
Uh,
something you want to explore.
Hello, guys.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm really, it's really opened my mind up to kind of all of the different options, and I'm gonna shamelessly admit that, and I'm really late to the party here, but I actually played Roblox for the first time over the weekend. I'm like so late. I know. Don't judge me for it. Um, because I really wanted to understand like what these kind of worlds meant and what that could mean for Web3, and I came across, or even just as a creator, and I came across some like really cool prison escape games, and I was trying to put myself in the shoes of the player and how vibe coding could, you know, could maybe use vibe coding to develop some of the ways in which to move around these spaces, and it almost sort of just clicked that the quality of the game itself doesn't have to be amazing. It can just literally be the link between one room to another, and then you successfully, you complete this sort of game in this prison escape, and then it links you into another world, which is then a room in Orange Worlds, and it just kind of opened my mind up to what is actually achievable or possible with all of this stuff. It doesn't have to be about the game. The game can just be the link between one room to another. And it just kind of, it was almost like a wow type moment, because it's not necessarily focused on the sort of, it has to be the most amazing quality. It can just be a transitional game. And the penny just dropped for me, so I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, and I think it comes back a lot to that core loop thing we were discussing earlier. If your core loop is strong and people are motivated to keep playing and coming back and playing, the rest kind of takes care of itself, right? You can monetize off the back of that alone, just with ads and stuff. So that core loop and focusing on making it fun and engaging and finding reasons for people to come back and continue to play is kind of the core of it. And as you said, it doesn't have to be anything super high tech. It can be a core loop of going between different worlds and performing a different act, but as long as it's fun and motivates me to come back and keep doing it, then it's going to be okay.
Hello, everyone. Can I just ask some questions regarding like the hackathon? Like you are talking about Web3, and I think it may be my time to jump in. Since
Please.
in my case, I'm a back-end freak, let's say like front-end and everything related to mostly what's visual, like games and everything, is not my best scenario, let's say. But in my case, I'm developing like a zero knowledge protocol with vibe coding, let's say, with cursor, strong rules, and also a little bit of knowledge in order to make cursor capable to develop such a project like that. But my main question is like, how could I, like, let's say, quickly jump in the pool in terms of front end? Because I know like I could have the best, let's say, code in the world, but if I'm not, let's say, able to have a efficient front end and efficient web page and efficient game related to my project, it's nothing at the end of the day. So I'm just kind of worried about my project itself because I know like in terms of backend, it's sick the progress I'm doing, but I would just like to know, or what could you recommend me, in order to fusion my backend with a quietly simple but beautiful front end, let's say.
Um, c- uh, can you tell me a bit more about the backend, Zaira? Like, is it smart contract?
I can share my screen maybe if you agree. Wait, like for example, my project mostly look like this. For me, like this is my front end. You know what I mean? Now I'm building, for example, the Light Protocol SDK, which will allow me to connect Solana, bridge Solana basically into a Merkle tree compressed token. So I could bridge it with Wormhole project and then bridge it to my EVM Ethereum stack. So I'm pretty sure like this is in terms of technology, this is efficient. I'm even making real like wait, give me a here posted it. Like I'm deploying real contracts, in the test net. It's not just like a like a toy. Wait over here. All these are real. They are contracts deployed in Solscan in this case. See like the tech it's already using. Like and how which fees are they using? This is almost free. So the key, the target of my project is to give to the community such a almost free fee uh, project that you can use to swap your crypto between Solana and Ethereum. Of course, meme coins allowed if they use the same blockchain, but I just want to give something almost free to the Web3 users because we all use projects like Binance and centralized exchanges, and we do pay a lot of taxes for swapping in your crypto. So I most basically using a CK zero knowledge protocol to show people that you don't need to wallet connect, you don't need to sign up process, you don't need to attach your wallet or to put your KYC data in order to swap your coins, because crypto for me started with a base of freedom currency, like to have own control in our currency. So I think like mostly in 10 years, this has changed a lot and mostly stable coins and projects related to that are kind of, let's say, taking like supporting things that at the beginning were not supposed to, like we are kind of losing like this direction of crypto in my case. Sorry, I do
Yeah,
talk a lot. I think you
that's
got.
awesome, man. What tool are you using, or what editor are you using?
I'm using basically, as you can see here, I'm using Cursor Premium in this case.
Cursor. Okay.
But in my
Um,
case, yeah, let me tell me.
so I don't know if it's the same because I haven't used Cursor. I use Replit, and what I have done several times is um, ask the agent to. I would give it a URL of a site that I really liked, um, and then asked it to, um, kind of copy the styling of
Mhm.
a particular site.
So interesting.
Um, Paul might
Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah.
other ideas.
I can add some also like I found also that GPT 4.1 Zyra does UI pretty well. And I think it has more. Which LLM are you using for Cursor?
Well, let's say like I do use each LLM is made for each specific task. For my case, for example, GPT 4.1 is so good to debrief the task. For example, you was talking about Taskmaster before.
Yeah.
And in my case, for example, when each time it will take a little bit of time because I'm currently also building another process, but we will see here like how specifically Taskmaster works with the AI. Basically, it's just the problem in the AIs nowadays is like the over context. That's a fact because each time you prompt here like, hey, I do want to keep working on my app. You have here my app, and we need to keep deploying the admin dashboard. Each time you put a prompt here, it takes a lot of our context that we don't really need. It doesn't, for example, need to read necessarily relayer or scripts to keep working on that. So as you can see here, in this case, this is the the roadmap I'm I'm using for develop my. This is Taskmaster basically, So each time it calls like all the tasks here. Each task has a concrete context, So the AI doesn't really need to spend a lot of calls, in things that we don't really need to, in order to work in our project. Basically, you see here, like it prompts, like it parts the task JSON into a full compressive roadmap. So you can even, in my case, I do have ADHD, so for me it's so difficult sometimes to keep focusing in the task I'm doing, So this also helps me, like I do know which dependencies are, for example, for applying this, I do need for this, and also the AI agent knows it, because every time he can also run the command here, and he takes exactly the thing that he needs to use, In this case, for example, now I'm almost about the end, to deploying an MVP, let's say. But I mostly use just ChatGPT for a specific task. Works amazing. Cloud 3.7 in this case, this one here, it's amazing for debugging, and end-to-end text in tests in this case. Also, Gemini 2.5 Pro Max, this one, it's also a beast in terms of scrapping internet, and to looking for a direct solutions in this case. So mostly like I do not have like a specific LLM, like each LLM has good points, and also each LLM has his own not that good points, Grok is also so good. I do use Grok a lot.
So Paul,
Another one.
would you suggest
Yeah.
4.1 for
Yeah, like
UI design?
just in terms of UI, and also like to your point, Lara, about the it having, I guess, the over context thing, right? Like, also I find like, but in terms of UI, right? I think taste also comes a little bit here, like plays a bit of a part, because if you ask UI, if you ask, for example, an LLM to address your initial question, right, which is to build, how do you build a good front end for the back end? A lot of that is still up to taste, and I find like LLMs still doesn't have that appreciation. Like when you ask it to make a game, for example, right, it always makes a sci-fi game because I think that it's just how they are trained. They're not really trained to be as creative for certain things. So if you want to do like, I guess if your concern is I want a good front end that showcases what my back end can do, maybe LLMs might not be the tool there. Maybe look at other projects that does this pretty well. Like I find, for example, like Pull Together was a good way of showcasing the protocol, right? So is there like a simple use case that your protocol can demo? And you mentioned it's like cross-chain swaps, I think is what you're doing. So,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
mostly doing a private zero knowledge protocol swap, crypto swap in this case. It's
Yeah.
like a bunch of flash connections between another protocols and everything. That's why the name is like Uzumaki Void, because it's kind of the same.
Tornado.
And I have, yeah, a tornado cache. That's exactly
Yeah.
the starting point that I had, like. So I have some examples about which apps are working nowadays. For example, in terms of Telegram, there are tons of apps, GameFi apps, let's say, like which connects these kind of backends that I have into an efficient, let's say, front-end apps to make the community interact with your app. For example, I know I could build some of kind of mining app in Telegram, link it into to a coin and also develop a little tap game. I do have some ideas regarding that, but it's just that in I'm not based in this kind of professionalisms. Let's say I'm not so efficient when it comes about developing that. So that's why I think this vibe code thing will help me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say how I would do it, right, is just focus on like the main use case of the protocol. If it's cross-chain swap, then what's the simplest? So I guess this is also might be another thing for people to think of. Like in Zynga, they have this concept called, I guess, the first-time user experience. So the main thing is in the first 3 clicks, you should be able to have fun. So in your case, like how many clicks does it take to show the what the protocol can do? So if it's a cross-chain swap, right, then what's the simplest design you can do for that? And if people see the value in that, then you can start building the other stuff on top of it, I think.
I
Because
did
just
have
yeah.
I did have some of examples like in the front end. Just let me look for them. They were
Um,
out here.
I, I think I don't know if we can.
I'm putting in
Lala,
the
do
general.
you still have a agenda?
No,
But
it's right now. It's pretty much for the community and free and easy for now.
Zara, what I think we are going to start doing over the next 2 weeks is having these open sessions where
Correct.
we can brainstorm with you and then
Mm,
uh, let you guys know how we have accomplished things. Um, and Paul, if you're free, like it'd be great if you could join us again for one of those sessions.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so we'll be doing things like, if anyone's having problem integrating the ID,
testing. Yep.
we can help with that and just be a sounding board for the community.
Agreed.
And we'll let you know when that is going to start. I'm assuming within the next couple days. Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thank everybody for actually coming in today because I know we're running a little bit above our schedule by 15 minutes or so, and I think the community has given some really good feedback, and we will definitely be doing another closed session with the devs. It's great to hear what you guys have been experiencing or any suggestions that you guys would like from those that are pretty much advanced or building already. So I will update the community again on the next slot that we'll be having. But before we end things, I'll just end with one last question for the 3 people who actually helped us so much in this particular Discord session. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Peel. Thanks, Phil, for everything. Um, I'm just going to end it with like, what do you guys see in terms of the whole technology part of it in the next couple of years? Because I still feel that we are so very new. This is like a starting point, it's a good starting point, and it's a good entry for a lot of people. Like Rect was saying, you don't imagine yourself doing something like this or creating something easily, as how it is right now. So, what would you say is, your your goals, or maybe what do you see the next 3 years for the current builders that we have?
Ooh, good question. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's so many ways it could go. Like maybe I can start with because just recently I was in a chat with how AI agents will look like in the future, and I think there's so much unknown there, right? Like right now, people are actually using these AI agents as their friends. Like I think when I was talking to Niraj, the first NPC Friday attendee, he said like he treats ChatGPT as his best friend now. Like he talks with it every day, and just projecting out what relationships we'll have with our AI tools, right? It's kind of super interesting. And also, robots are now coming up. Like in my YouTube feed, I see all these robots that are starting to run marathons, and so in the future, right, as these two technologies come together, then what future will that be? Will that be Westworld? Will that be AI? Right? Will that be the one with Will Smith, iRobot? So yeah, it's super interesting. Like in our case, I think we should try and build for the future we want, and so I want these AI agents to be useful to us and be friends and not be, I guess, not be Skynet. So that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, I do think
Uh,
like AI agents, like at the end of the day, it's a fact that it's a natural evolution. It's like back in the days when the mining times were like in the 50s or 40s. People were going to mines, to dig iron and everything. Then the technology came over, and they bring machines into the mining process. So as a miner, what could you say to yourself? Like, the machines are taking my work, or maybe it's time to start learning about the machines, so you can develop, you can become an industry miner, for example, so it's part of the change. In my case, I do like a lot to see like this way, because it's a fact that AI agents or AAs, LLMs would be our partners in future. That's a fact.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think with uh, y- all these AI agents really leveling the playing field in terms of what type of tech the regular person can build. Um, we really have to start thinking about, because it's all going to be about execution, right? Um, and building IP rather than product, right? Because we're all going to be able to build the same product. So, um, yeah, yeah. Like for me, like we're in the Star Trek, we're almost at the Star Trek world where everyone's artist, no one's working. Um, so you just have to, start thinking about putting the face on those products and getting above the crop that way.
I agree. I think execution's going to be the critical part, because that's the only way to get cut through. If everyone can create, then there's going to be a lot of stuff out there. So it's going to be the hard part's going to be getting the cut through. I think the interesting part too, we've seen, like we mentioned the spaghetti thing before, and I think someone mentioned sprites. I mean, just in the last, since they added Sora to ChatGPT, the ability to now be able to do sprites, which you couldn't do, what, a month ago, 2 months ago. So, it's moving pretty fast. But there has been also a bit of a plateau. So it's going to be very interesting to see if it keeps hockey sticking and it just keeps growing, or whether the current model, whether it's compute or whether it's the way the models are trained, that it starts to slow down. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, because I don't think anyone can predict exactly whether it's going to continue to go at the pace that it is, or we start to see some, regression to the mean. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. We're trying to stay at the forefront of it and get all the advantages. But it is, I like the democratization part of it. That's the best part. People like what Rex was saying before, never coded before, and now, knocking out, created new digital products is amazing.
Yeah. I think that's a sweet end to the whole session that we had. Once is Skynet, once is Star Trek. We'll see how the future goes. But one thing's for certain, we'll definitely have another session with everybody here. Hopefully, we can get more builders in. If you have friends who are also not builders and just want to discuss things, that is definitely the next up on the agenda. Trust me, there's no right or wrong question or answer. It's just really to make sure everybody has the help they need for Orange Vibe Jam. And don't forget to check out our bounties. I will be sharing any links that we shared for this whole segment as well. And if you have any questions later on, feel free to tag me on chat. And I'll see you guys real soon. So thank you
Actually,
so much for your time.
I just want to plug one thing before we go.
Plug it.
Uh, Paul has been running these NPC Fridays in Orange
Yeah.
Worlds.
Oh yeah.
And those are really interesting conversations. Like last Friday, he brought in Tim Cotton of
Scripted.
Scripted, who
Yeah.
is launching autonomous virtual beings. It's another platform, and the way he thinks about um, these LLMs is totally different from what we're seeing now. And then also he talked about the protocols to support that like new way of thinking. So like I urge you all to drop by on Fridays and look out
Yeah.
for announcement on Paul's Twitter.
Yeah.
Um,
The next one would be awesome. Also, Phil, I invited Austin Griffith of Ethereum, and he created a framework called Scaffold ETH, which is like I'm a super
Great.
big fan of that framework. It's just taught me a lot about Web3, and when he vibe codes also, like these guys, like this is like the person I look up to when I look at people who vibe code. So next Friday we'll have him on, and it'll be awesome.
that's this coming Friday.
This Friday, yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah. We'll make sure to share that with the community as well because we do drop by there. It's a really fun place to meet new people and also to get their take on stuff. So I'm happy to see some of our community members there this Friday, hopefully. So yeah, all good for me. Anyone else would like to plug in anything? All right, we're all good. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys real soon.
Thank you,
Thanks so much,
Lala.
Paul.
Thank you,
Peel.
everyone.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Phil.
Bye,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Guys,
Thanks,
you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.